Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and it is true. Ford's going to lose $3 billion this year on EV vehicles, electric vehicles. Now, this may come as a shock to a lot of viewers who don't understand the whole picture of what's going on in EVs, understand where the profit and losses are, things like this. And it all also largely doesn't matter. They're losing $3 billion. I know, it sounds shocking. For a company to lose $3 billion and it's no big deal. What the hell, Tim? You're dumb, idiot, whatever. No, hold on, time out. Before we get all fear mongering on YouTube and say this is the end of the world and Jim Farley's going to get fired and whatever these other thumbnails and titles will come out to be, let's get to the real story. Let's go ahead and share some facts and discuss what's actually going on and kind of what you need to know. And so I'm going to go to my friend here, Larry Prince at the Detroit Bureau, and he has a story: Ford facing $3 billion in losses in EV business in 2023. Okay, so let's break this down. So remember, I think it was last year, Ford decided to separate the business into three places. They have Ford Pro, which is a commercial business. I got to remember their names. They have Ford Pro, they have Ford Model EV platform, and they have Ford Blue, which is basically their internal combustion engine. Helps separate the business up a little bit more and helps really understand what's going on. But for consumers, it creates some confusion. Like, how can you lose $3 billion in a vehicle? This is ridiculous. You can go under. EVs do not have a profit margin at the moment. Well, they don't. Largely, EVs are sold at cost or a little bit above cost, even as they keep increasing pricing because lithium pricing and raw supplies keep skyrocketing. So here's let me go back to the story here. It anticipates a $3 billion loss in its electric vehicle division. And we say, while this may not shock you, Larry's talking about how we all, as journalists, understand that EVs a net loss right now until you build up more efficiencies in the supply chain and more efficiencies in manufacturing, and you have more volume. But so that's what's going on with that statement. The automaker said Thursday losses for the Model E EV division. So again, three divisions at Ford. So just the Model E EV, just their EV division, will grow by 43% 2023 from $22.1 billion in 2022. It lost $900 million in 2021. So if you add the stuff together, so you have $2 billion plus $3 billion is $5 billion plus another $900 million plus 0.1. So $6 billion they probably lost last 3 years in EV, which is not unheard of in this space. We have Rivian that's losing money. We have Lordstown, which is basically going bankrupt. They can't make things work out. Bollinger has had a heck of a time to get their business going on the EV side because it's an expensive proposition. The losses stem from the automaker's efforts to raise production of its Ford Lightning and Mustang Mach-E's while developing its next generation cars and dedicated EV platform. So there's a quote here from the Ford Chief Financial Officer, John Lawyer, I think so I say it. It's not only about changing how we report financial results, we're transforming how we think, make decisions to run the company, and allocate capital for highest returns. Essentially, we founded Ford because they have the three divisions with business segments that provided new degrees of strategic clarity, insight, and accountability. Okay, so let's go down and let's break this down. Write these numbers right here. This is the key paragraph. So, and also Larry explains as well. Like many upstart EV manufacturers have learned, you have to lose money in EV space for making money. Something Rivian, Lucid, and Lordstown Motors are in the process of learning. Tesla had a big cash infusion by Elon Musk, and that's why they lost money for years until they started actually turning more of a profit lately. But Ford Motor Company has the advantage over its upstart rivals, its old tech internal combustion business. Now, this is known as Ford Blue. This is all their gasoline engines, gasoline, diesel, anything that's not a hybrid or an EV, not a full EV or not commercial. So anything gas, hybrid goes in this Ford Blue. Estimated to post earnings before interest, so earnings before interest, EBIT, interest and taxes, of $7 billion, up from $6.8 billion in 2022. Ford's commercial unit, Ford Pro, is anticipated to report on an estimated tax before interest and estimated earnings before taxes and interest of $6 billion this year, up from $3.2 billion in 2022. Think about that. That is, they've almost doubled their commercial business. And look at the numbers. So the consumer side of the business, just consumers, is $7 billion. The commercial side of the business is $6 billion. So that's why I've been telling you guys a lot of times on this channel that yes, consumer vehicles do make a difference for overall profit for Ford, but a lot of their business is commercial. They could actually spin off their commercial unit and be its own Fortune 500 company. And this is why, because they make $6 billion a year selling Ford work trucks. You know, the boom trucks too, all the chassis, all the stuff they've seen with Ford. Ford has already stated its intention of spending $50 billion to develop EVs through 2026, with the expectation of reaching an EV as earnings before interest and taxes margin of 8%, and the company adjusted earnings before interest taxes margin of 10%. So they're going to spend a lot of money, eventually hoping to get enough production to be able to turn more of a profit. And so they're changing their way they're reporting. So look at the stuff, old school tech funds and new. And this has been the case for about a couple of years now. We've been talking about this a lot. Is the numbers from investors have long suspected the company's gasoline-powered vehicles bring in the bucks and help fund the development of EVs and mobility ventures. And so while Ford Blue and Ford Pro are consistently profitable, Ford Model E is anticipated to be break even by the beginning of 2024. So they're hoping to break even by the beginning of next year. Farley remains critical of Ford's Blue efficiency and expects to slash $2.5 billion in expenses from the division this year. So they want to make Ford Blue more efficient. So they want to cut some jobs, which is what GM just talked about doing, cutting some salary jobs and moving more of the business to the EV side. And so they'll create more profit on the Ford Blue side that'll fund more of the Model E business. The picture is brighter for Ford Pro. There's a new Ford Transit van. It's coming out, and all the company is expected to reiterate its guidance of full year earnings before interest taxes of $9 billion to $11 billion and $6 billion in adjusted free cash flow. So Ford's got tons of money. Just because they lose a little bit this year, that's their thought. They're gonna invest in this new business. They're gonna lose money on it initially, and eventually they're hoping to break even. And so by the end of this year, the manufacturer hopes to be able to produce 600,000 EVs annually, rising to 2 million by the end of 2026. And so this kind of jives with that chart I showed you, I don't know, a month ago, right? So this is a Ford February 2023 US sales guide. And I did this. People were like, oh, you're just a Ford marketing piece. You're Ford whatever. I'm like, no, I'm just a journalist, just reporting the news. So the news is this. If you look at the top three lines, your electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, and internal combustion vehicles, you can see where the volume is hugely more towards internal combustion vehicles. So internal combustion vehicles sell what your percentage there, 10 times, 20 times, 40 times, whatever the number is, than they do the electric vehicles. SUVs are still pretty good for Ford. It's like a 50-50 mix between SUVs and trucks a little bit there. Trucks have a slight advantage by about 20,000, but you see trucks selling pretty decent. And you see that cars are going down because, well, nobody's really buying cars anymore, right? And so you're going to see this stuff changing as Ford evolves and as production gets booming again. So we cover the story. I covered the story early on this month. Ford Lightning production resumes. There was a battery issue on, I don't know, like 15 or 16 Ford Lightnings. I think it was the total number they recalled. And SK, who does the batteries, worked with Ford. And SK figured out the problem, and they addressed the problem. And so Ford was able to restart production. They had a fire at the factory, and it was one that actually won on the lot that they had seen that they were doing some final testing and it caught fire. So SK went through, figured out what the problem was, fixed the problem, no problem anymore. And then we can see right here, this is more from the press release, but Ford is increasing production of popular electric gas and hybrid vehicles to respond to strong consumer demand. And so if you look at it, the Mustang Mach-E production restarted because they made changes to improve overall volume. They're targeted to have 210,000 units by year's end. They're going to be helped develop Ford number 2 in U.S. in sales. You got Lightning. So the Lightning production is on track to triple this year. Annual production rate 150,000 units because they're selling pretty well so far. People are buying them, although they've only had sales of 3,600 units. So they have a big ramp up coming, is what they're anticipating saying. Big ramp up coming with that. And Ford is also investing $2 billion across 3 plants in Michigan, adding 3,200 union jobs to help that Ford Lightning production increase. And then we have the Ford Transit and Ford E-Transit, which is a big deal for Ford. Transit vans are a huge part of the commercial business. And so this is big news for them that they'll be able to get the van out with annual production increase of 38,000 units. They're investing in $95 million, adding more jobs to supplement that increase with the E-Transit. They think E-Transit is going to be a big deal for commercial fleets, and I tend to agree. For just around town stuff, you know your miles, you can charge, you understand how that's all going to work out. It could be a big savings in overall fuel costs. And they're looking at ways to increase the Ford F-50 and the F-50 Power Boost to meet demand. And so what they're saying here is, yes, Ford's going to lose $3 billion. They're going to make between $9 to $11 billion, and they're going to keep losing money for maybe throughout this year, and hopefully break even on the EV business by spring of next year. And that will allow them to not have so big of breaking news, big losses. And they'll eventually start taking the gas money and keep funneling in the EVs. and eventually EVs will start making their own money, and you'll kind of see this not evening. Maybe it'll get 60-40, 70-30 at some point, and then eventually when consumers, well, have no choice and they have to buy EVs, so they actually have good EVs that have good range and we want them, we'll see the EV business increase and gasoline business go down, and eventually that will mean gas will eventually go away once EVs actually become more they come better. that's my biggest thing. I don't hate EVs. I just want to be better, and I think we're going to see that more and more. Technology changes, raw materials changes, battery composition changes, chemistry changes. Hopefully, infrastructure builds up, and we can see that changing happening. But that's what's going on today. I don't want you guys checking the videos and freaking out and being like, Ford's going under, and I'm going to get emails and stuff. So I'll put the information out to you as truthfully and accurately as I can. So that's the information. So for more checks videos over here, website down below, pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.